In today's video, we have a variety of NHL news updates, including a potential suspension for Flames forward Milan Lucic. We have a small trade to discuss between the New Jersey Devils and Tampa Bay Lightning. We have some more further updates that came from Saturday headlines on the Dustin Byfuglien situation with the Winnipeg Jets. And we also have some updated NHL trade rumors involving the Oilers, Leafs, and Bruins. We'll get into all the latest coming up next. So welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news updates, so let's dive right in and get started. Now, as I record this video, I don't have an exact result here from NHL Player Safety on the outcome, but Milan Lucic has had a hearing for the incident that happened against the Columbus Blue Jackets, where he sucker punched Cole Sherwood after he poke checked the goaltender trying to get the puck loose from the goalie. Lucic came in and sucker punched him. It was really not a pretty incident. It was kind of ugly, really uncalled for. I understand protecting your goaltender. I can certainly understand where his heart was coming from, but he really went way too far in my opinion. There's no room in the game for that kind of nonsense, and I do think he will be suspended. There will be some disciplinary action, more than likely. Probably nothing too severe. I would imagine maybe a game or two. I guess we will find out what the outcome is once Player Safety announces the results of the hearing and what they've decided upon. Apparently he's not considered a repeat offender, but they will take it into account his overall general history of having similar type of disciplinary issues in the past. So I guess we'll wait to be seen on what the results are on Lucic, but I do expect a suspension to be announced sometime later today. Now, as I mentioned as well, we did have a trade happen on the weekend between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the New Jersey Devils. The Devils have acquired goaltender Louie Domingue from Tampa, who has been playing in their minor league system. Of course, the Lightning had signed free agent backup goaltender Curtis McElhinney during the offseason, which essentially pushed Domingue down further in the depth chart and made him go down to the minors along with Mike Condon, who they had previously acquired from the Ottawa Senators. So, of course, they had a veteran netminders down in the AHL. It was no secret they were looking to trade one or both of them from the system. Likely going to keep one, depending on which one they were able to move first. Of course, Domingue's had the better results as of late, so no surprise that he's the guy that generated a little bit more interest. Of course, the Devils have had a lot of inconsistent goaltending between Corey Schneider and Mackenzie Blackwood so far this year, so it's not a huge surprise that they would want to go out and acquire some more goaltending depth. So I guess we'll see how the Devils proceed with their overall goaltending situation and what kind of opportunity Domingue will get. But he had been pretty good for Tampa Bay, especially last year. I was a little bit surprised when they grabbed McElhinney as a free agent. I mean, he is a veteran guy who's been around. He's been one of the better backups around the NHL, so I guess it's safe to say that it was an upgrade, but wasn't really in a major area of need considering that Domingue had been pretty solid for them in the past. So hopefully he gets more of an opportunity in New Jersey. It certainly can't hurt. It was a very low risk. There was some conditions involved with a draft pick going the other way. It's only going to be a 7th round pick if the conditions are met in order for them to receive that. So certainly very low risk with potential reward and return for some better goaltending. We'll see if the Devils can get things turned around. Obviously, they've had a disappointing start, so not a huge surprise that they've done that. Of course, there's some other teams out there I know have been looking for a goaltending depth, so I'm a little bit surprised it took this long for Domingue to get a new home because he had been pretty good before. So I guess we'll see what happens in New Jersey and Louie Domingue. Now, on Saturday headlines on Hockey Night in Canada, we did get some further updates on the saga between Dustin Byfuglien and the Winnipeg Jets. Obviously, many of us are confused as to how things came to be where they are right now. Of course, as we really didn't find much out until the season training camp get underway. Of course, Dustin Byfuglien didn't report for camp, ended up being suspended without pay. Wasn't really clear. There was some talk that he wanted to retire. Didn't know if he had a desire to play. The story has changed many times. There's been certainly different reports from both sides, changing the narrative a little bit. So it's really been unclear, but the information that came out on Saturday headlines does seem to offer some clarity. Essentially, at the end of the season last year, Dustin Byfuglien's physical at that point, according to the Jets, indicate that he was healthy and able to play. Even though Dustin Byfuglien did play through some ankle issues through the playoffs, I guess he felt he was still injured at that point, but fully intended at that point at least to kind of heal up over the summer and be ready to go when training camp came underway. But of course, he had a lot of other issues with his ankle throughout the summer. It didn't really get to that point where he was really able to play. Came to training camp. Obviously, it was reported that he had gone to some informal skates ahead of training camp. Looked like he was still having some issues and really wasn't ready to play. So I'm not really sure exactly all the stuff that's gone down since then, but it does look as though he's using his own medical team instead of the team doctors, which a little bit surprising, but maybe there was obviously some discrepancies there and difference of opinion on what they thought he should do versus what he thought. He has gone ahead and had ankle surgery. It's also revealed that he ended up having a broken bone of some sort in his foot too, and he's going to be out for 4 months, but it looks as though this situation is going to an arbitration case now to kind of determine if Byfuglien should be being paid. If so, when should that start? Should it be retro pay? It's really a complicated situation, and it really has gotten even more complicated now that more information has been revealed on the situation. And based on what Chris Johnson was saying on headlines, it looks as though things are kind of getting a little heated, a little bit more personal. And even when he does return, or when he's able to return, assuming everything goes well from the recovery, will he even remain with the Jets? Will he want to be there? Will they want to have him? It's really unclear at this point. I don't really think we're going to have too much clarity for quite some time on this situation right now. I guess we'll wait and see what happens through the arbitration hearing. But it's certainly a messy situation, and there's certainly more to be told, I think, to this story before we have an even clearer picture as to what really happened. So I guess we'll wait and see as we find out more on this Byfuglien situation. Now, in regards to the latest NHL trade rumors, there is some talk about Jesse Puljujarivi and the Edmonton Oilers, but it looks as though, based on the recent reports, that the Oilers are still not completely clear, and I really don't have a firm decision made yet if they really want to trade him or hang on to him, let him play in Finland for the year. There is some reports, as mentioned on headlines, that Puljujarivi and the Oilers both seem to be okay with him possibly finishing the whole year over in Finland. He's been playing pretty well over there. It's been reported Ken Holland's going to be making a visit sometime soon as well to see him play in person. So we'll see how that goes. But obviously he needs a contract by December the 1st, or he can't play anywhere in the NHL for the entire season. So if they're going to trade him, they now have less than a month to do so. There was mentioned in this report as well on headlines that the Rangers apparently have been showing some recent interest as well. Of course, the Rangers are a team that I do feel are going to be making some other transactions as we go between now and the deadline, depending on how their season goes. But obviously things haven't gotten off quite to the start that they were hoping for. There's been some talk around Chris Kreider possibly being moved as a pending UFA. Hasn't been having a fabulous season to start with, and the team's struggling, so it looks as though they might be looking to move on from him. I know in the last few days we've also talked about players like Ryan Strome, Tony DeAngelo possibly playing, even though they're playing well, that they might be pricing themselves out of New York where they need new contracts, and whether or not the team's going to want to pay those type of numbers that they're going to be looking for and be able to fit them into their overall salary cap situation. So I guess only time will tell here what happens with the Rangers and if they do show further interest in Puljujarivi. But I do think the Oilers, for right now, at least, are going to continue to be patient. But as we approach that December 1st deadline, they need to come to a firm decision if they're going to be trading him and seeing if that team who acquires him will want to get him signed and into their lineup before December the 1st, or will they let him play over in Finland, hopefully finish the season strong, looking like he's been playing so far, continue to boost his value, and either try to convince him to return to Edmonton or trade him before the start of next season. Now, there's also been some reports as well that the new team in Seattle likely will have a team name announcement sometime between now and the NHL All-Star break. So obviously it's believed that they're behind the scenes here, coming really close to finalizing the team name. Of course, I'm not sure how far along they are when it comes to logos or jersey design or anything of that nature, but I do believe that when they do want to make the announcement of the team name, that they likely will want to have all their colors, logos, and kind of everything like that from a marketing perspective ready to show the world. So Chris Johnson did announce on headlines that he believes that it won't be too long before this team has a name. It certainly will be interesting after all this time since the team's been announced and all the talk and speculation about what the name could be, what they actually decide and settle on here. We've talked about this in the past, but it's been some time. I'd love to know what your thoughts and what your projections are on what the Seattle franchise team name is going to be. Let me know down below in the comments and we'll continue discussing it further. There's also a recent article through The Athletic where they touch base with a couple of veteran unrestricted free agents that are still interested in playing, and that's forwards Jason Pominville as well as Thomas Vanek. Now, of course, both these guys, like I said, want to play but don't have a contract. They're still looking for work. They both indicated in this article that they're keeping themselves in shape and trying to be ready should an opportunity come along. They're both very much interested in playing. It sounds like Jason Pominville, again, his first choice would be to go back to Buffalo, but obviously right now they do not have the space, and they really didn't seem interested in bringing the veteran back. In Vanek's case, I think he would really love another opportunity to chase the Stanley Cup. So as some of these teams that are going to have an opportunity to be playoff teams look to decide what they want to add for depth before the playoffs, clearly these two guys would be an option, but obviously the longer things go without them playing, then obviously the more difficult it is going to be for them to return, get into game shape, and actually be in a position where they can contribute a little bit more. But I guess a couple of guys to keep your eye on as free agents that we very well could see good opportunities. We'll see if anything comes about for either one of them. And of course, as I mentioned before, the Toronto Maple Leafs are in a situation with Zach Hyman's ready to return, that they're going to have some more tough decisions to make and have to make some cuts to their roster to free up enough salary cap space to add his contract back to the active roster. There's now reports that there's 3 to 4 players in the trade rumor mill from the Maple Leafs, including forwards Nick Petan and Nick Shore, defenseman Martin Marincin. There's even some talk about Jason Spezza being named out there as well, although some believe that Kyle Dubas is not shopping the veteran forward. But it's believed that Babcock would be very interested in the team moving on from Spezza, since he hasn't used him to the extent that many thought he would after he signed a one-year deal with his hometown team. Of course, Spezza met with Babcock prior to the season, kind of hammered out what to expect in terms of what his role would be, and things kind of changed quite a bit after they get into training camp in the early part of the NHL season. So it is believed, obviously, that he could be on the trading block, but many don't think Kyle Dubas is ready to do that here just yet, but they do need to free up a fair bit of space to activate Zach Hyman, and the other guys I mentioned certainly more than likely will be trade targets. The only problem is they're not the type of players that are high in demand. They're not going to fetch much for return, which is not really their main concern. Obviously, some of those contracts could be buried in the minors to create some space as well. So I guess we'll see what the Leafs decide and if they can get any bites on any of these depth players that they need to move to create some necessary space. Now, as far as the Boston Bruins go, we know that they're chugging along, playing relatively well. That perfection line is continuing to dominate and put up lots of goals, lots of points, but obviously they're still looking for secondary scoring, and there's been some reports wondering if they might look to a team like the Los Angeles Kings to try to find that necessary secondary scoring. I believe that the Kings would be interested in trading pending UFA forward Tyler Toffoli, and even veteran Jeff Carter as well, who's down to 2 years left on his contract, and either of those players could certainly be players that the Bruins could have interest in. Now, there was some reports as late back as last year that Jeff Carter might retire and not report if he were to be traded to a new team, because he does not have a no trade clause, so he doesn't really have any say over that, but teams might be a little bit leery over those previous reports. But right now it looks as though that the Bruins were showing interest in Carter last year, and many believe that they would not have been able to obtain Charlie Coyle, that they were toying with the idea of trying to acquire Jeff Carter from LA. It's kind of like a backup plan. Obviously, we'd have to see from a salary cap perspective what they could squeeze in. It would depend on what would be going out. But it is no secret, though, that the Bruins are looking to maybe do a shakeup between their second, third, and fourth lines to try to create some necessary secondary scoring. Even though they've been playing very well and getting good results, if that top line slows down or they run into any injury issues, they could be in a heap of trouble if the other guys don't start producing more, and maybe adding a little bit more scoring to that group certainly might be wise for them to have continued success throughout the NHL season. So that is all your latest updates here for today. Of course, as always, want to know your thoughts on the Milan Lucic situation. Let me know what you think he's going to get for a suspension down below in the comments. Give me some names on the Seattle franchise as well. Those are certainly a couple items we can continue to discuss down in the comments section. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.